Hey guys, this is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. We're doing weekly Q&As now on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Hopefully this goes smoothly. Apologies if I mess anything up. We're going to start taking your questions here momentarily. Please add as many questions as you like to the comment section. I will answer as many as I can this hour as we go through this. So first of all, I'm really excited that last week when we kicked this off, we had well over 40 questions that we went through, and I think it's great content because we're addressing specifically areas that you guys have on your mind. The most common question that came out last week was SKU shipping restrictions and limitations, and it prompted me to do an additional video where I went in depth on that. So I expect the same thing to happen today. Whatever you guys want to talk about, I end up building more content around. So on my mind today is just the fact that we're seeing exceptional growth on Amazon, and we're seeing all kinds of things that are happening in the space. I'm paying a lot of attention to Amazon aggregators, as well as everything that they're doing to grow and acquire brands. There are dozens and dozens of new Amazon aggregators that are out buying and acquiring other brands right now. And so that is very much on my mind. All right, so let's kick it off. Let's show our first question here. So Misum917 asks, is it better for a smaller seller to hire a 3PL if available or get their own warehouse? If warehouse, what if you don't have the capital? So this is a great question, Misum, and not an easy one to answer, but probably the easy answer is use a 3PL. Now, the challenge with that is there's not a lot of 3PLs that have available space right now. So we saw a supply chain reaction as it relates to this question, right? So like we have 3PLs that are out of space, Amazon FBA, which is out of space, and then we have the whole supply chain, which is having issues at large. It creates an environment right now where it's very, very difficult to navigate. So when you're a small seller with a lack of capital, it makes sense to make non-committal actions. Now, if you have the next sliced bread, then by all means be bullish and invest. But acquiring a warehouse is not the first thing you should be doing, most likely. Unless you have operations excellence, you've previously, ran a warehouse or have some expertise there, I would not start there. I would focus all of your capital and time into your product first, get some sales in the door, and then figure out where to put them. You'd be better off losing money on your products by overpaying a 3PL partner or overpaying for storage versus doing that. So next question comes from Joe. What is your strategy for relaunching a product after it has surpassed the honeymoon phase and is a few months old? What methods do you believe best utilize an ASIN barely selling back moving? So I'm going to take some context into this question. Basically, if you want to relaunch a product, it's very doable within Amazon. You got a couple of options. Number one, you could delete your product and start on a new ASIN. Not generally the first thing I would do. I'm just throwing it out there. It's viable. You can do it. And if you do that, you're giving up your review counts and everything else. So you basically would duplicate your ASIN and start over. Another option would be to take your item and nuke it down to bare bones and leave it like with 2-word title, 5 words for your bullet points, like total, like 1 word per bullet, and 0 description, and nuke it. And that takes it back down to the bare bones. And the reason you might do that is because it allows you to reset the honeymoon period, then you re-optimize everything and then go guns a-blazing, getting as many sales in the door as you possibly can. And if you do it that way, then you have another opportunity to reset your honeymoon period. So I think that second technique, the one I just talked about, is the way to go. If you have to relaunch it and your sales are so weak that you can lose some sales by nuking the listing and starting over, that's what I would do. Now, if your ASIN's a few months old and you got 40 sales a month or 50 sales a month, maybe you're not ready to be as aggressive. Maybe what you want to do instead is just spend more on advertising and try and find what converts. And maybe there's a problem with the listing that didn't get it off the ground. Maybe it's a pricing issue. Maybe it's an issue with your category. We had a client that was in the wrong category. We switched the categories and their sales immediately shot up significantly, like 300% significantly on their product. So check your category, make sure that's good. All right, next question from Sachmo Sanzabar. If I probably mispronounced that, I apologize. Hi, Stephen. I'm doing RA, online arbitrage, retail arbitrage. What's what that stands for. I have a few listings suppressed due to a missing description. When I try and edit it, my changes don't stick. They don't seem to be brand registered. Any tips? Fantastic question. We've seen the catalog on Amazon get locked down a lot of late, and that has made it very challenging to grow your sales, right? When your catalog changes cannot be manipulated, that becomes very problematic. And so if you're having this issue, I would submit tickets to try and get the content to stick. They will probably automatically reject them. You need to fight the ticket tooth and nail, squeaky wheel gets the oil style. And on those tickets, provide proof that your edit makes sense. And you can give manufacturer links to the products. You can take physical photos of the products. And without fail, you'll probably also need to call in and talk to the Amazon catalog team, which is very difficult to get a hold of right now. But I would try all of those to try and get that description to stick. And let's say everything I just mentioned failed. The next step, what I would do is I would create your own brand name, go file a trademark, and just start listing products under your own brand name, even though you're selling somebody else's items. This is not necessarily something that Amazon will appreciate, but it makes sense if the items that you're selling are not being optimized or well taken care of by the brand owners. They're probably not going to care if you make your own listings and go down that path. So that way you can control your own destiny. And I think having your own private label, your own brand building is really the future of where you need to be. And retail arbitrage is just a means to an end. So that's what I would do. All right. So Coolpeips, I'm so excited for this. Hi, Stephen. You have been a true fan. Thanks so much for chiming in on our content and dozens of your comments. I really appreciate that. What are the benefits of converting my LLC to an S Corp? Should I switch for tax savings? So my Amazon guy is an S Corp. I do not claim to be a tax expert. This is probably one where I should just say, go talk to your accountant. But in reality, most of us don't actually put an accountant on the payroll. And so I understand if you're in that same boat. To be honest, I don't think it's worth the challenges of switching your tax structure from LLC to S Corp. I'd probably just leave it as is. I don't have a strong opinion on why you would pick an LLC over an S Corp, and that is where I'd say go talk to the tax or accountant. But I found the S Corp to be convenient for me. I think the LLC is more common, however. Joe asks, what's the best way to get an ASIN that has been ad blocked, for example, supplement for weight loss claim back on the ability to run ads on? So Joe, I got some bad news for you, my friend. It is not possible to advertise weight loss products. Once they're banned, they're gone. They're toast. Like there is no coming back from a weight loss problem. There are certain products and categories that are just outright banned. I had a Christian t-shirt company I used to work for, and they were getting banned because they talked about Jesus on their listings, which is shocking, I understand, to many of us. But basically, Amazon is just, they are very much risk prone right now, where they are afraid of upsetting certain groups of people, and they will alienate other groups of people as a result. But basically, there are some specific products that are outlawed in the advertising T&C, and I would go read them so you don't end up picking a product to launch in those categories unless you have external traffic expertise, which is what you will need to grow a weight loss product on Amazon. There are just a sheer high volume of competition in certain categories. Supplements is the most commonly blocked items. Some of my wine glasses are also blocked in ads for promoting alcoholism, and literally they're just freaking glasses. It can be very challenging. And so, Joe, you would have to, there's zero way to get your weight loss unbanned. I'll just tell you that outright. But if you have other supplements that are banned, look for the specific claim that's at issue and remove it from the listing, and then fight the ticketing to get it back up. That would be the best advice I would give you. All right, we did Sancho's already. So Coolpeips, what are some of your tax saving strategies you can share? Thank you, Steve. My friend over at New Wave Swim Buoy, he basically spends as much money as he possibly can in inventory. And this strategy is not the typical strategy, but that's his tax plan, right? So Just like in the stock market, where you wouldn't want to sell your stocks in a year, because if you do, then you got to pay the capital gains tax on it. You would hold them for years on end and basically defer your taxes over a very lengthy period of time. The same concept would apply to Amazon taxes. If you could buy your inventory and basically defer paying taxes on profit, it's a way to store your tax haven. The same thing could be applied to people, right? So at my agency, if I hire lots and lots of people and I pay them anticipating growth, then I would be not paying taxes on money that's considered an expense. And so that's what I would do, is I would increase your expenses if you're trying to save on taxes. If you don't have enough money to produce your next product, this is a moot question, and you should be focused on raising capital. But if you have lots of capital, then you absolutely need to try and increase your expenses to defer tax expenses. Just started FBA a year ago. I'm not using an accounting software outside of Google Sheet for inflow and outflow. Should I switch over to an accounting software? To be honest, this depends on how big you are at this stage. QuickBooks is very affordable, and so if you can automate your taxes and accounting, I absolutely would recommend it. So I'm a big efficiency guy. So what I do is I automate everything, all of my expenses into QuickBooks, and then anytime an expense that comes through that's come through before, it auto puts it into a bucket, right? So like I have an automation rule for like literally every expense type. So then when I go to my accountant and say, hey, can you reconcile my books? Like the work is already done. He just has to like go through and approve it. Joe, thank you as well for being a fan and stopping by. Fantastic tips. Thank you as well, Sachmo. I appreciate your feedback there. Hamza Anwar, sir, last week I asked you a question about virtual assistant course, so can't reply from where we get this course for free. I did post on the last week's video about how to get some virtual assistant courses. I actually forget the name of it off the top of my head, but if you go to last week's Q&A, you'll see a comment that responds to you on that one. Good point about the 3PL. We'll be looking into ASAP. Yes, it'll save you a lot of money if you go that route. No Jesus, LO, Amazon lives and dies by liability. Thanks so much for your advice. You're very welcome, Joe. And I'll add one more comment onto that. And when Amazon is entering the maturity phase, right? So like it makes it harder for new entrants to enter the market. That's actually a strategic advantage for you as an Amazon seller if you're already in the market. That means you can navigate those questions, right? So like when you're going to go sell your business, you've already overcome things that the market has not learned themselves, which can be very advantageous. All right, so Javier asks, coupons or lightning deals, which one do you prefer? So I am not a fan of promotions, believe it or not. I'm a marketer and I'm saying this, right? Like very odd for me to be saying this, but in reality, lightning deals have not been effective for 4, maybe 5 or 6 years. There is always an exception to everything I ever say, but 98% of you who test a lightning deal, like if we polled the audience right now, I got 21 live viewers, and I asked how many of you have had success with lightning deals, maybe 1 or 2 of you would say you've had success. It's very rare to have success with lightning deals. Coupons, because they cost money for somebody to clip them, you're giving away your margin. Now, when an item is launched, all bets are off. I would do whatever it takes to get the item off the ground. I would run coupons. I would do whatever it takes. But on a regular item, I've run so many tests where I've put coupons on and off, and I never see the needle move. I really never see the needle move. You're better off putting that money into advertising and just driving more traffic, believe it or not. Juan asks, hi, Stephen, looking to expand to the UK marketplace, currently selling in US. Can I sign up for the UK with the same email and use the same FN SKUs in the US and the UK? Great question. So you can use the same email, connect your global network settings. I do have a video on how to link or unlink your global Amazon channels. What I would do is I would log into Seller Central and then flip over to the sign up page for the UK or the US, whichever one you don't have. So I guess UK in your case, and then connect them and use the same email for 100% sure. If you use a separate email, it actually won't link them as effectively and will cause problems. So I definitely recommend that. Germany's the strongest market in the Europe area, and then the UK is a distant second, and then everything else, Spain, Italy, etc., all a very distant third. So make sure you focus on Germany first, then the UK as you go and expand to the European market. If you haven't done Canada yet, do that one first before you also go to Europe, because that's like a 7% easy ad when you do that. How many times can I request a remeasurement? Amazon twice measured a color variation as larger than others, even when they're all the same size. Ryan, I think you have to wait 30 days between measurements. But if you're having problems and they keep messing it up, here's what I would do. I would take the item. So I just happened to be holding a fidget spinner because my daughter brought one down to me today. And so I would take this fidget spinner with its packaging and whatnot, take a photo of it, right? Like take an actual photo of it with a measuring tape right next to it and say, here are my measurements. Here's proof. Here's my photo. Fix it. And tell them what you want them to change it to. And if you offer that proof and that photo, I think you'll get your thing to go through, Ryan. I have 100% success in getting measurements fixed, but not 100% success doing it on the first try. Like sometimes it does take quite a few times. One of the problems that I had personally is, so I sell wine glasses, and I was paying Amazon to do the prep work for my wine glasses. And what would happen is they would take the bubble wrap, and I don't have any bubble wrap with me, but like they would take the bubble wrap and they would like wrap it around all the wine glass. And the measurements was taking into account the prep work, and the bubble wrap was like an extra 4 inches long because whoever did my prep work was just like crazy with the bubble wrap. And that's a problem because then I was paying an extra $1.50, $2 to ship everything out. So if that's you, what I recommend you do is take the photo and say, hey, prior to prep work, here's the measurements, please fix it on the back end. And then squeaky wheel gets the oil on that one. Javier asks, once international trademarks are in place, at what point for a new Amazon brand and product would you consider selling international? $100,000 in gross monthly sales on the US market is when I would 100% go over to the European market. I would also say you don't need an international trademark. You can use the US trademark. By the way, we do file trademarks for people, $775. I'll put a link in the comments section. We only file US trademarks. And we're not lawyers, but we're freaking incredible in filing trademarks. And so we can get trademarks in within 1 business day of being ordered. You can get your brand registry in under 7 days. A lot of people still do not understand how quick and easy it is to get a trademark these days. But basically, I have like 5 or 6 videos on this question. If you haven't watched those, you're curious about trademarks, feel free to watch those. I think it's like 15 frequently asked questions on my website as well. Let me share my screen here. So on trademarks, you can see all my FAQs right here. If you go down that list, I mean, it's just like every question that's ever been asked to me, I end up putting them on my website here, and it can be very advantageous. But do you need the international trademark? I don't think so, because even if you have like patent attorney stuff or whatever you have, it still doesn't prevent people from ripping off your products. So your US trademark will allow you to get brand registry in other countries. And so I don't really see a point in getting the trademark in other countries. Now, if you talk to an IP lawyer, they are absolutely going to disagree with me. And that's because they're an IP lawyer, and they will tell you a dozen reasons why you need to go get your international trademark. So figure out what makes sense for you and your business model, and what you want to do with that. Mikkel asks, what do you think about doing single keyword ad campaigns, and what are pros and cons of this method in your opinion? I think this is an incredible idea. Everybody should be doing more campaign setups. The more testing that my team does, the more that we come back and think that having lots of campaigns is the way to go. You can have very successful campaigns with dozens of ad groups, don't get me wrong, but sometimes having a single keyword ad campaign, ad group can be very advantageous. So if I am selling wine glasses and I want to defend wine glass to the death, I will have a single campaign with that wine glass term. Now, you can't necessarily, as you scale, like it's very difficult to make that happen in mass for hundreds and hundreds of campaigns. So as you get larger, you're going to need to do one of two things. You're either going to need to get a PPC software in place, or need to hire an expert who has technology and skills, because you're going to need to learn how to do macros and all kinds of things. And it's just the template work that's involved to manage your advertising, just very sophisticated, and it's getting harder and harder. So go ahead and do some single word campaigns until you're like, mercy, I've had enough. And then you're going to bring in the expert to manage it from there. It's very affordable. Like there are so many agencies that focus on PPC. It's not funny. We obviously do it. We're full service, but it would not be hard for you to find a partner willing to take your money to manage your ads. So just keep that in mind. Misa asks, what proactive steps do you take when you identify additional competitors entering a space? I do still have differentiation, but want to make sure I have everything covered. So you can track your competitors in tools like Helium 10, and I would say be sure to do so. I'll be honest, a lot of the times I ignore the competition. I just focus on high quality product results and offering a better service. That's an easy thing for me to defend. But for a lot of you, you do need to pay attention to your competition to see what they're doing, because at any point in time, if they like undercut you on price, or they're running a deal, or they improve their performance, those are things you need to be paying attention to. So what I would do is I would chart them and see what their BSR is doing. I would chart them and see like what's happening to their pricing, and make sure that you've got all of these things tracked and figured out, because you don't want to be taken by surprise. Jeff Fink asks, advice for resolving the black hat tactic of having your ASIN listed in Canada and keyword text change to yield a global ASIN suppression. Oh man, this one's hard. No proactive measure can be taken on this one, Jeff. Only defensive ones. And that's because my theory, I predict, there are Chinese people who have connected with Amazon insiders to load the content to your other accounts. That is a very scary statement for me to be making. And it is a scary situation by all ways you could look at this situation. There's a very lengthy video that I have a bookmark to that goes in depth about somebody's experience on this question. I'll probably find a link to it pretty quickly here. And so I have this person who's in New Zealand. Her name is Sharon Evan. She'll probably see this video and comment on it. And this video is a must watch if this happens to you. You need to fix the load in Canada and the other countries. That's how you fix the issue. And then you need to ticket and fight Amazon and basically threaten legally action because they damaged your brand worth thousands and thousands of dollars. We've had a dozen clients that this issue has happened to, Jeff. We fixed 100% of them, but it was very difficult work, very, very challenging. Javier asks, if you get invited by Amazon to be a vendor, what are the advantages? Or for us, a disadvantage would be to not being able to control pricing, but many major advantages. So I would say the larger your brand is, the more likely Vendor Central would make sense. I personally prefer Seller Central over Vendor Central by a huge margin, like 80-to-1 margin. And that's because price control is extremely important to me. The ability to control my data, the catalog problems that come out of Vendor Central are quite severe. They lock your listings down, and it's very hard to optimize things over time. And that makes it very, very challenging. So I prefer to have control. I'm not necessarily a control freak, but I hate when Amazon doesn't give me control. I like having options. I want to, if I want to lower my price or raise my price, I want to be able to do what I want to do. Now, what I would say, Javier, the number one advantage to using Vendor Central would be to not have to worry about MAP pricing control. That's minimum advertised pricing. So if you have a wide distribution network where you're selling your product wholesale to a bunch of places, Vendor Central is probably a no-brainer for your brand, because then you can ship and sell by Amazon without having to worry about those third parties knocking you off. All of the retail arbitrage people will avoid your listings because they know they can't get the buy box. Coolpeips says, one ASIN has brand registry, but the brand node is messed up. It's not allowed to have A+ content. They ask me to delete the listing, then add again. I'm scared of losing momentum. Thoughts? Great question. Deleting the listing is actually the right move, believe it or not. It's super scary. If you have your brand store built, then you don't have a brand node ID issue. You have a product ASIN that isn't associated correctly to your brand node. And so as scary as it is to delete your listing, that is exactly the right thing to do. Go ahead and delete it. They tell you to wait a day. Don't have to wait a day. Just upload it 15 minutes later. and I bet you it works. So give that a try. I know it's scary. Give it a try. If it doesn't work, give me a ring. But I bet you it works. Jeff Fink says, thoughts on the big doc requirement changes coming to dietary supplements in May? Any insight beyond the initial vague email? So Jeff, I would say on this one, we're going to see supplements just see a ton of new protocols. Your COAs are going to have to be up to date. Your documents are going to have to be in a row. And you're going to have these things. And the reason is because there's so much competition. So many Amazon sellers have entered the space. It's made it very difficult for Amazon to see who's compliant and who's not. I've been on many calls where I will have like a doctor tell me that their competitor is literally lying about their ingredients, and they've reported them and they haven't been gotten down. So the FCC and many other partners or government agencies are on Amazon's case right now, and this is why you're seeing the policy updates. It's very difficult to navigate, and I would say you just have to have as much documents in a row as you possibly can, and be prepared for listing yanks that are going to go down. So have an expert on staff who knows how to handle listing yanks, or give us a ring. We have some of the best listing reinstatement services on the web. But this is the hardest, most shifting category on the market right now. Very, very difficult to be in supplements. Anna says, hi, Stephen, waiting on my EIN since September. I'm a foreign LLC owner. I've been told EIN has to be manually processed. Massive COVID delays. Any advice to expedite? I actually don't know how to give you advice on this specific question because whenever I file for an EIN as a U.S. citizen, it's instantaneous. So I'm not aware of why that wouldn't be instantaneous for a foreigner. So what I probably do in your case is just find somebody in the United States who would be willing to get that number for you and file it under the company name, and then obtain it. And then that way you can get off to the races. As you try and sell on Amazon, you also don't have to be an LLC to sell on Amazon. So you could just file it under your own person. I'm not up to speed on foreigners filing for Amazon accounts though, so I don't know anything further on that one. Ashley says, hello, Stephen, can a seller with an international address selling on the US marketplace use foreign liability insurance to satisfy the Amazon requirement? Great question. I don't know the answer to this one. If you know the answer, please answer it in the comment section. Most Amazon sellers actually are not required to have liability insurance, believe it or not. There might be some exceptions to that, like child products and stuff like that. But like your typical platforms like Wayfair do require product liability insurance, but Amazon does not. So I would be surprised if they're requiring anything of you, Ashley, on that front, but I could be wrong. Mikhail asks, one of the previous questions about relaunching old products, but in my case, I have a top review in the niche, 750, but I lost my top ranking. After a huge SFB, it barely moved up. Any ideas? So that's a lot of reviews. The value of a review is probably around $15 per review. And so I would say that it's very important for you to maintain that listing. But it would be completely okay to nuke the listing, just like we talked about earlier in the video, delete the title, delete the bullets down to bare bones, and relaunch it as if it was coming out of the gates from scratch. The other thing I would do before taking that action, though, is I would look up in a tool like Helium 10 to figure out what your indexing looks like. So if you're indexed for more than 2,000 words, I probably would not reset your honeymoon period. I'd probably maintain it, and I would just spend a lot of money on advertising. So whatever your advertising budget is on that particular product, I would just triple it and try that out for 2 weeks and see what that does. If that doesn't move the needle, you may have like another issue. Another thing I would say is go look for a hidden suppression. So what do I mean by hidden suppression? So if you were to go into, and I'll share my screen for this one. So if you go into Amazon and you type in an ASIN product, so like I'm just going to grab this random item here. Okay, that was a bad idea. Let's try. Okay, let me just click on a random ASIN here. So if you grab an ASIN of any kind, go to Amazon.com, click in the ASIN, and if the item doesn't come up, this one did, but if the item doesn't come up, you have a hidden suppression. There is no tool on the market that can catch these. I'm the only one who's even talked about hidden suppressions online as far as I know. And so just you need to do a health check on your listing. If you ever see your sales go down, this is the first thing I'm checking this year, is whether there's a hidden suppression causing the problem. Other than that, just run a bunch of ads, see what will happen. Thank you, Mag. P.S. Love your wine glass. I'm not drinking alone. I'm just social distancing. Thank you for buying one of those. Very kind of you. And we, of course, I have a side hustle brand called Momster. I'll share my screen on this one to show this one as well. And so this product right here is the #1 funny wine glass on Amazon. For any of you who want to check that out, you're welcome to. 1,500 reviews, ranked #3 for wine glass as a term at this very moment. I have a 40-minute video where I did in-depth, like why this has a 42% conversion rate. And it's a very, very good video. I recommend checking it out if you haven't seen that one yet. A+ content, product grid, all of these things are important. It indexes for 6,000 particular keywords right now. And one thing that we've recently discovered is the product description is now showing up again for Seller Central sellers. So I have not filled mine in. Can you tell? So I need to get on that. So we'll see what happens there. All right. Getting shy on questions. I've got another 20 to 30 minutes to answer questions. If anybody has additional questions, feel free to leave them right now. After initial product launch, how do you choose keywords for ranking? Do you make decisions based on PPC conversion rates or use any other methods? So I would say whenever I'm choosing keywords to rank for, I'm always looking at conversion rate for sure, but I'm also looking at it from multiple angles, right? So like contextually speaking, does this keyword make sense to rank for on this product? Am I like, what phase of SEO am I in? Am I in the beginning stages, the middle stage, the end game? We run 3 phases of SEO at my Amazon guy. And in phase 1, it's all about mass indexing, like index for as many keywords as you possibly can. If you do that, it's very beneficial because when you index for lots of keywords, you show up in search results for as many products as humanly possible. When you index for those keywords, then you get more clicks. You get more clicks, you convert more people, which leads to more sales. So in a particular product launch scenario, you're in the first step of SEO. So you need to make sure you look at your competitor listings. And if you look at your competitor listings, you can see like what they're doing and see what keywords they're ranking for and how you would maybe navigate that. So let's go a little bit in depth on this question. So in here, this is Helium 10's Cerebro tool. And in here, I'm going to look up the keyword rankings for my product. So it's actually at 7,700 keywords right now. I thought it was 6,000, so it must have gone up. And we advertise on 3,600 keywords. We're indexed for 7,700. So if you were looking at my product to do competitor research, you would see a lot of things that we do well on, like wine glass funny. So 781 search terms, organic rank 1, right? Fun wine glass, funny wine glass, rank 1, rank 1. These are big, big terms that are extremely beneficial to my product. When you're launching your funny wine glass, and hopefully nobody does that, right? Hopefully I'm cornering the market on this one, but I know some of you are going to try and do it. You would look at my list and figure out, of these, what are the most important ones? How would you affect the title? How would you do your bullet points? How would you do your description? And kind of iterate from there. You can look at the word frequency cloud on the far right, and you can see that obviously wine is the most important keyword. Of the 7,700 keywords it indexes, 3,900 of them have the word wine in it. 1,900 have the word glass. So when you look at the word frequency chart of your competitor listings, this should be the #1 dictation of what your title should focus on. The word wine should be very early on in inside of the title of the product. So if we look at my title here, I chose to go the social distancing route instead of focusing on the wine glass route, and it paid dividends for me. They did an update that suggests that you don't have to do the title, like doesn't have to have the front loaded keywords anymore. So I think that went out like in the A9 or A10 update in the last year or so. So you don't have to have your front loaded title, but one thing you can do to set the canonical URL. So like if you look at the canonical URL from Google, they're setting drinking social distancing stemless momster, right? Like that's the canonical URL. If I wanted to try and tell Google how to set my canonical URL, it would be to set a hyphen after the 5th word in the title, and that would tell Google to set the canonical URL to whatever I'm doing with that. I couldn't find a way to cleverly do that on my product that would beat what I'm currently doing. So that's why I have it in the current situation. But there are other products where when you're first making the product, if you can make 5 words and then a hyphen, that's a really good technique to set up your canonical URL. So there's obviously a lot more we could talk about on keyword strategy. There's just so many aspects that you need to have in place. So go watch and read a lot of content around keyword strategies for your launch, and you won't go wrong. That's time well spent. Idea suggestion would be great if you could do a live teardown or constructive criticism on ASIN listings that your followers submit live. If you would like to do that, go ahead and submit an ASIN, and I would love to do that for you. We'll do the first 1 or 2 or 3 that get posted. So post an ASIN, we'll do a takedown. We'll say everything that's wrong with that listing, everything that's well with that listing. I'd be happy to do that. Daniel says, I'm in the NARF program. That's the North American Remote Fulfillment Program for those that don't know, and selling a bit in Canada. For some products, the reviews synced automatically, but for one ASIN, it didn't. Do you have any ideas why not? Daniel, go check the UPC or EAN number and make sure that it's present on both listings in the US as well as in Canada. If the UPC is different, the reviews will not sync. If the UPC is blank, the reviews will also not sync. So what you could have in that field is the ASIN instead of the UPC, and that could answer your question. Give that a whirl. Report back in the comment section. If I got that one right, Daniel, I would love to hear if I did. Javier, would you recommend for registered brands Helium 10 or Jungle Scout? So I'm a Helium 10 fan. I also have an affiliate code for both of them. So if you want a discount on either one that you choose, I can provide that for you. I do get a kickback on that, but I think both tools are great and phenomenal. I just have a preference for Helium 10 because I think it has some really powerful things that Jungle Scout is a tiny bit behind on. I also think Helium 10 is a better fit for larger corporations. So the larger your brand is, the better Helium 10 might be. Jungle Scout, though, is way preferable if you're side hustling, if you're doing it out, like you're out the gate. It has a lot of retail arbitrage tools. It has a lot of product research tools that I think are phenomenal. So it just depends on where you are. But Javier, based on your questions you've asked so far, I think Helium 10 is the way to go. SPD versus LTL shipments. What's working best for you right now? Without a doubt, if you're doing K shipments with UPS, it's superior. The problem is UPS is not picking up shipments right now because they're in a fight with Amazon about their SLA agreement, the service level agreement. And so it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation when it comes to shipping. And then add into that the shipping SKU limitation, restock limitations. It's very, very difficult right now. So what I would say to that is if you have really large shipments, you probably still should do LTL. Just expect 30-day check-in times. That's a very large check-in time. So if you need speed, go SPD all day long. If you need cost, go LTL. But it's very, no matter which section you go in right now, there are challenges. All right, we're going to do a takedown on our first ASIN here. So let me share my screen and take a look at this. And by the way, if you guys ever have requests on things you guys want me to do and cover, like I'm very much open-ended to these questions, and I will go wherever the audience wants us to go. Maybe I typed that in wrong. Looks like I put an O instead of a 0. Let's try that again. All right, I think I found it. So leave-in conditioner. And this is a first 5-second glance. This is a listing that's done a lot of things correctly. So I'll unhide that. So first of all, first thing I look at is cropping a main image. So see how it's tight in the top and the bottom? That makes the item as big as possible in search results. That's good. 191 reviews with an average of 4.5. So that's above average. 4.1 stars is the average right now on the platform. So they have a well-liked product. Title is very long. I think nobody cares about paraben. I would ditch that out of the title. And I know this because I work with a lot of beauty brands. The thing that they're missing in their imagery is they have no people shot. Like, who's the target audience, right? So like if this, one of my favorite metaphors to use is if you are selling Russian mail order brides, who's your target demographic? It's not somebody looking for a wife. It's 3-time truck drivers, 3-time divorced truck drivers, right? Like that's your target demographic. So What is the leave-in conditioner spray target demographic? Is it 14-year-old girls? Is it 30-year-old girls? Show me pictures of that using the product. That's what this is missing. Number one thing this listing is missing is humanization to show that. This particular shot here is terrible. Nobody's going to take time to read 15 things, 15 benefits. Get it down to 4. Tell me the 4 reasons this is beneficial. Pretty boring product shots in general, and too much text. So I think those are the biggest problems for the listing. So like this shot right here, instead of showing this shot, what they should have showed is like somebody like at the beach next to this product, almost like you'd see a suntan lotion shot. That's what I would do. Bullet points are, I'd say, average. They're okay. Maybe needs more keywords. A+ content. So let's take a look. So they got a brand story. Most people don't know brand stories exist. Product description. Ooh, they got a video. These guys paid for the video and A+ content. So this must be a big brand, because when we asked Amazon how much it costs to put a video in A+ content, they told us $200,000 for the account. So they clearly have capital. So again, like there's just no pictures of people outside of the video shot. Like just big miss. No humans. Why should I buy your product? But they do have text. All that's good. All right. Last thing we'll do is we'll look at their history here. So this is Helium 10's tool. So their sales rank is pretty static. It's a good seller. They have not used any price changes. Basically, they've always been at $25. This item was launched most likely in May of 2020, based on what I see here. And they've been strong out of the gate ever since June. So these guys will be tough to take down. They have clearly a lot of good conversion rates going for the listing. And then the last thing I'll look at is their keyword rankings on Cerebro. And in here, they're indexed for 2,500 keywords. They're advertised for 1,700. That ratio is perfect. That's exactly where it should be. 2,500 is a good number to index for. But their ranking or matriculation, it's an immature ranking. And what I mean by that is like they've got no slot 1 rankings. And by the time we get down to the 50th keyword, they're in slot 8. So this is a listing that could improve its conversion rates and spend more on ads on some of these keywords to get into slot 1. That's what I would do with that one. All right, so let's look at the next one. Wish there was a way for me to copy the comment directly in. So I have to type this out. B088VFJL6. And I typoed it, of course. B800V Victor F Frank Z FJL6. Well, I'm not sure what I typoed. I did the 0 this time. Not coming up for me. Maybe help me out on that one, Mikhail. We'll come back to it. A listing I do not own has been selling on RA for several months. The title was recently changed to Russian, which killed all traffic and sales. I've submitted changes. Amazon won't accept. Pikewood LLC, you have the same problem that was asked by, I think, Jeff earlier in our podcast, and you have to go check the other countries. Your title is being co-opted from another country's catalog data, most likely. If you don't have brand registry, that's a giant mistake. Make sure you have brand registry. File massive amounts of tickets until you get this title fixed. Daily noise on this question. Show them pictures of your product. Show them a link to your manufacturer's website. And continue to fight this tooth and nail. If you don't have brand registry, though, then there's nothing I can do to help you. Go get a trademark immediately. Any suggestions to get them to fix it, create a new listing? No. I mean, like if this listing isn't doing very well, and it's not like if it's not selling at least 10 units, I would just create a new listing. I'm leveraging a 3PL for storage and replenishments. Currently, I'm monitoring inventory level on a weekly basis. Is there an automated way to monitor and generate shipping labels? No, there is not. Unless your 3PL has that option, there's not a way to automate that. So you will have to either use a tool to generate the shipment information, or you're going to have to do it manually. So what I recommend doing is keeping a 60 to 90-day supply at Amazon. And what I do is I take the business report, I take the amount of stock that's sold in the last 30 days. I then times that by 2 to 3, somewhere in that range. And then I minus out what stock is currently active and available at Amazon. And then I ship in the difference. So you can do this in a spreadsheet in mass, and then you could create a shipment in mass by template upload. That's probably the fastest thing you can do on that front. I'm working with Amazon account managers for international markets, but how do you get an account manager for the US? What's the revenue threshold? Thanks, Stephen. First of all, the account managers in the US are not really readily available. They don't have time for you. So even if you got one, you probably wouldn't see them like ever. They don't have power to help you. Their measurements of success is how much revenue they're generating in the category and how fast they're growing it. Their revenue is not going to be impacted if you make an extra $1,000 per day. They do not care about that. So don't worry about trying to have an account manager. I don't think they're worth the assistance, and I don't think you're missing out on anything. You're very welcome, Javier. Thank you for the great input. You're very welcome. Okay, I used 2 zeros. All right, so let's try this again. Let's see if I can fix the ASIN number and see if we can do a takedown on this one. So B088 VFJ FZJ. Aha, there it is. I missed the Z. Okay, okay, I'm gonna do it from scratch here. So sorry, guys. B088VF ZJL6. All right. Okay, we got it this time. Thank you for your patience on that. All right, so this listing, let's do the takedown here. So again, well cropped, same comments there as last time. Let's look at the title: lower back pain relief, muscle relaxation. So they've got all the keywords. They've done the keyword gambit. That looks good. Relieves tension. So no comments in the title. That's well done. Let's look at. Okay, so here's our humanization shot. See how you can see the smiles. So the target demographic based on this image would be like, hey, my man keeps complaining about his back pain, so I bought this product for him and now he's happy. Like, that's what this image says. I've been looking at this product for 20 seconds and I already know that the target demographic is the woman because she's making the man happy because they've been complaining about back pain. That's what that image says to me. If I get that wrong, it's because this is what the image says to me. Let's go in here. So I'd say pretty average infographic here. Shows you all the spots you can get the back pain or the particular leg pain, all that. I think that's good. I really do like the smiling shots on this, by the way. So first 10 to 20 seconds. So you're walking them through how it feels, right? I think that's very important to do because this is probably like, your number one audience on this is probably somebody who's never done acupuncture before, right? Like, they don't understand how this works. So when you see something like this, it's because your target audience is a first-time buyer. This makes perfect sense, and you're kind of walking them down through what to expect. Here's what we do or what we offer that others don't. I think that's a good call out. That's good. Again, so here you're actually suggesting that it's the woman that this is the target market for, but I don't know if this is like, hey, is it for pregnant women? Is it for all women? You may want to specify the niche down a little bit potentially, and you got to cash back if people don't like it. I get it. We may see Amazon ban these kinds of guarantees over time. So not a whole lot of ideas on your photo. I think you did a pretty good job there. Let's go down to the A+ content. Okay, you're missing A+ content. So here's the big call out, right? So if you don't have brand registry, go get a trademark. I've already put a link into how to get a trademark, but this is the number one thing you need to do right now. You got lots of good text from your product description, but you need A+ content. That is the most important thing you should be doing right now. So I'd also would get a video loaded showing the product in use. So hopefully that was helpful to do a little bit on that. Let's go to Hussein. So what advice to give someone who wants to sell on Amazon but doesn't have capital? Don't do it. That's my advice. You may not have expected me to say that. There are dozens and dozens of videos on YouTube right now where there's somebody saying you can start Amazon with $500. That's not true. It's just simply not true. Like, you cannot. You need $3,000 USD to launch your product on Amazon successfully. You will be crushed by the competition. There's just too much capital entering the space. So what I would do if I were you, Hussein, is go work for somebody who sells on Amazon, pick up the skills, and then side hustle it wherever you can. But you're going to need some capital to be successful. Taylor asks, as a brand manufacturer, how do I require approval of third-party sellers? You cannot control who will list on a marketplace. That's basically a brand position from Amazon. So what I would do in your shoes, Taylor, is at bare minimum, file for brand registry If somebody creates a listing that you don't like, you can get them to take it down by submitting a brand registry takedown. That's the most important thing you can do. The other thing I would do is have everybody in your distribution network sign an agreement, Taylor, that says that they will not sell on Amazon without your written approval. Failure to do so results in them not being replenished by you as the distributor. Those are the best, most important things I could tell you to do, Taylor. Not a difficult journey to go down. Jensen asks, what if my trademark is registered, but it may not perfectly describe my product? Will I come across issues for filing for Amazon brand registry? Nope, none at all. As long as you use the brand attribute, exact match, letter for letter, space for space for your brand registry, you will be just fine. No problems. Mikkel, you're very welcome. And Hussein, you are also very welcome. So I have time for one, maybe two more questions if you guys want to put them in. I have very much appreciated the series of questions. You guys took me down a very different path from our last week's conversations, which is great, hitting new territory, new ground. We find that basically selling on Amazon is a jungle, and it's a lot of information overload, trying to navigate going from one location to another. Every time I hire a new employee, the number one feedback I get is it's really difficult to navigate. There's just so many different places you have to go. You have to be an expert in SEO and PPC, catalog management, you name it. All right, so we'll take two more questions here. So helpful. QQ, is sales ranking and velocity attached to an ASIN or a listing? It is attached to the ASIN and listing. In other words, if I were to delete the listing and re-add it, will I lose ranking velocity? You most likely will not lose your velocity. It'll like temporarily save it, and then you'll get it back once you remake the listing. Now, your conversion rate might, like for 1 or 2 days, you might see like a little dip, but it should bounce right back. You should be fine. You're very welcome, Jensen. And then Mark asks, does MAG offer a listing review takedown service? I'd like to get this done on my listing that you guys have already done my A+ on. Well, yes and no. So we have coaching that I would suggest. So if you hired us for just A+ content, I would recommend hiring us next for a coaching call. So when you go to my website, if you go to the book a coaching call section, we have various coaching available. So if you want strategy, talk to me. If you want tactics, talk to Dustin. And then if you have listing catalog issues, talk to Saban. We have some really great coaching that we can offer where we can go look at an ASIN and say, like, here's what's going well. Here's what needs to be improved. We'll look at the actual back end. We can record it on Zoom. We can send you a copy of the recording and make sure that we help you grow your sales wherever we can. Tom asks, tax question. Since I did not meet a certain amount of sales on Seller Central, I did not receive a 1099K. How would I report this on my taxes? Oh, this is a good question, Tom. Really good question. You may get away with not having to. It might be the honest answer. And I don't think the typical like tax jar or HR block people would know the answer to that. But I would say you probably are under the threshold. You probably don't need to report it. I think that's the right answer, but you may want to consult a tax expert on that. You're the best, Stephen, truly guiding light for our community. I can't thank you enough. You're very welcome. Yes, same time next Tuesday. 1 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays will be the time that we're going to do this moving forward. So I have set myself up. So every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I will be providing a live Q&A. So bring your friends, tell them you can try and stump me and ask any Amazon question. And by the way, I went through every single question. I didn't pick and choose. I showed them all. And that's typically what I will like to do. So that is, come on Clubhouse. I would love to. I don't have an Apple iPhone. So YouTube is my thing. Really wish I could. Community is missing you there. I totally understand. I wish I could get into the Clubhouse thing. Maybe I'll have to go buy like an Apple iPhone just to participate. Maybe that's what I need to do. I keep hearing about this Clubhouse thing. In the meantime, I will continue putting out great YouTube content to help you guys grow your sales. I'm a content machine right now. We're putting out a ton of content and doing whatever we can. So that is our broadcast today. If you guys want to share this with somebody else and say, hey, come next week, Tuesday, 1 o'clock, that'd be cool. Leave a comment after the video processes with any questions. So if you're watching this on the replay, leave a comment. I will go back and answer those as well. And we look forward to helping you guys out in the community. It is us together against Amazon. It is not me against other agencies. It's not you sellers against other sellers. It is all of us collectively against Amazon. It is a jungle out there, and we hope we can grow yourselves. My name is Stephen Pope, and I'm the founder of My Amazon Guide. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. You have a good one.